Hey guys, so I am back and doing a video on phase 2. I figured I would knock these out. That way you guys have all the information that you need to get started on your weight loss journey. So in this video, I'm going to be covering the 500 calorie diet, safety concerns, what you can eat, and how much that you can expect to lose. Now, first is my disclaimer, which I have to say every video. I'm not a dietitian. I am not a doctor. I am a YouTuber, and I'm simply sharing with you guys my experience and what I've learned and read from health professionals in the field. So what I have to say doesn't constitute medical advice. Don't say Dr. Britt told you to go do this, because I'm not a doctor. So make your own decisions, make healthy and wise decisions in life. And that is my disclaimer. Misconceptions. Okay, so probably the biggest misconception that I have personally heard is that if you eat a 500 calorie diet, you're gonna lose weight anyway. That is the stupidest thing I've heard. What is this, a quack doctor? Who is this guy? Blah, 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 blah. Well, I can tell you from my own experience, that is not true, at least for me, because I cut the calories down to 500 calories thinking the same thing, and it did not work. In my case, I went nearly 24 hours without food, trying to intermittent fast, and I had no registerable amount of ketones, which is insane. That's a clear indication something's not right with my body. And if you read Dr. Simeon's original book, which is Pounds and Inches, I've got the audiobook version on a playlist on this channel for you guys if you guys want to watch and get into all the research. I'm also going to add a lot of detailed videos when it comes to, on a cellular level, what's actually happening and what the purpose of the HCG really is. HCG is not some miracle drug that forces your body to burn calories like some of the narcotic type of medications out there. I didn't want that. Dr. Simeon's passion was to find a cure for obesity. Like, that was his goal with this whole thing. And so he tried to figure out what was wrong with the body that would cause somebody to gain weight and become obese. And why do some people, eat whatever they want and they seem to burn it right off, and other people can eat half as much and they gain weight like crazy? And in my case, I was eating 500, 800 calories a day, and I was still gaining weight. So, and it has to do with a part of your brain called the diencephalon. He talks about it in his book, as well as all the lab research and things that he did, and how HCG essentially resets, like reboots that part of your brain like a computer, so that it can once again process the fats and calories as it needs to, so that you can essentially eat a reasonable amount of food and never have to worry about gaining weight. That was the theory. Anyway, if you guys want to know more about some of that, you can watch my other video on my journey on my weight loss before and after, or go and listen to Dr. Simeon's book, Pounds and Inches, on the playlist on this channel. I won't bore you with more details, because this is all about phase 2 on the HCG. Also, just a side note is that there are those that are saying it's very unhealthy, you're going to screw up. Hell, I talked to one doctor and she was unfamiliar with everything. She's like, you're going to screw your hormones up, you're going to screw your body up. I'll tell you what I'm wanting to do right now is pull you from the HCG. My blood pressure was through the roof high. I mean, it was so high they were considering blood pressure medication. If it went any higher, they were going to send me straight to the hospital. She said, I'm pulling you from the HCG. I'm putting you on blood pressure medication. We'll probably start you on narcotics type medication for weight loss. I refused. I told her, check my blood work, because I guarantee you're going to see an improvement. And I guarantee you in a few weeks, my blood pressure will come down. Because my other doctors I was working with who were familiar with HCG indicated that things should improve, not degrade, on the HCG diet. So a lot of fears that people have are simply misconception that it's not healthy to eat 500 calories a day. You're going to screw your blood sugar up. There's a lot of reasons. I will do another video sometime getting into the details, but has to do with intermittent fasting, increase in sirtuins in the body, your IGF-1 decreasing, and essentially your body going into ketosis, which allows your body to produce its own glucose as needed based on the fat storage that you do have. So my result overall was so positive. My body composition improved week by week. My blood pressure is now healthy, normal. No chance of getting on any type of medication. It's simply not needed. I'm healthy as can be blood pressure wise. My full entire body composition improved. My blood work came back from the doctor and my blood work has improved. All the stats are great. They called me and they were in shock. They were like, oh my God, like your stats are amazing. I'm like, thank you. My other doctor who knew about HCG was right. So the 500 calorie diet, not only has it not impacted me in a negative way, everything, all the health parameters have improved in my situation and drastically. So, and I share all of that in my other video. Okay, so phase 2, how it's structured in general, and then I'll get into details on what foods you can have, how much, portion sizes, and so forth. And of course, the biggest question is how much can I expect to lose? So one thing that really surprised me is I've been following a lot of doctors. Krista something or other, I forget her name, but she's with the University of Illinois. They've all been doing so many studies on intermittent fasting and the benefits. And the typical intermittent fasting pattern, of course, is to eat your last meal, you sleep all night, skip breakfast, and you eat lunch and dinner. And that's an intermittent fast. Now, before anybody was talking about this intermittent fasting, back in the 50s and 60s, when Dr. Simeons wrote his book, he structured this HCG diet coincidentally to eat your last meal, before bed. Hopefully not right before bed, but if that's the case, that's the case. Skip breakfast. You can have coffee or tea in the morning, no cream or sugars. You want to avoid all sugars, fats, everything on this diet. But you can have coffee or a tea in the morning. Then your first meal will be at lunch, which is coincidentally what modern science has proved to be really the best form of an eating pattern for people. So I found that to be a really cool coincidence, and Dr. Simeons was like ahead of the game back in the 50s and 60s. So you're going to be eating a lunch and dinner. And how that's structured is each meal is structured allowing you to have one fruit, one vegetable, and one protein source. And you can literally skip everything if you choose, except for the protein. The one big no-no is you don't want to skip a meal and then eat a dinner and double up your calories or your portion sizes and have 2 fruits and 2 vegetables and everything. It doesn't work like that. That can actually hinder your progress. But you can skip the fruit, you can skip the vegetables if you so choose. The biggest, most important thing is to get that protein in the 2 meals that you do have. Meals are going to be 250 calories or less. And with 2 a day, that's roughly 500 calories. You're allowed to go underneath the 500. Obviously, if you're just eating the meat portion, it's going to be a lot less calories. So you can go under it. You just don't want to exceed the 250 calories per meal. Okay, the big question, how much? How much can I eat? What's the portion sizes? What are the parameters? So let's start with protein first. You want to, according to Dr. Simeons, you want to stay at 100 grams of protein. And I'll go over what your protein source is going to be in a minute, but it needs to be weighed raw. And when I first heard this, I'm a truck driver. And how am I going to weigh and cook raw meats? I don't have the storage in the truck. I can't cook whole meals. So I'm dealing with canned stuff and cooked meat already. And I only trust the canned stuff that I can read the labels, because you're to avoid all fats. Like, the biggest rule on phase 2 of this diet is you want to avoid every bit of fat. No fats, no added sugars. I know the fruits have natural sugars in it. That's fine. But you don't want anything with added sugars. If your label says it's got sugars, you need to be leery. So what I did, because this is a dilemma for somebody that's stuck in a truck and on the go constantly, is how am I going to calculate this weight? Now, personally, I estimated it. I do have a scale, but I haven't weighed any food thus far, and I'm doing just fine. What I did was I looked at the label, and normally it does say how many grams, per serving. So what I did was I just estimated, because raw meat's heavier than cooked meat, obviously, because you're cooking out all the moisture, right? And so I just guesstimated at 80 grams instead of 100. If it's cooked meat, 80 grams. And I've used that as my rule, and it's worked extremely well for myself on this diet. So just always remember that the protein needs to be, you know, if it's cooked, probably 80 grams, give or take. If it's raw, no more than 100 grams that you're preparing to cook. As for the vegetables, there's really no restriction on how many calories you can have from vegetables, so long as your overall meal doesn't exceed 250 calories. That's including the protein, fruits, vegetables all together. So as long as you don't go over that, you can essentially have as many of the vegetables on the side as you want. You can't do that with the fruit. It's very restrictive. Okay, so approved foods. I'm gonna get right to it. I have got my handy dandy laptop here, all ready with my notes. So here you go. And you can pause the video, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know how to get the information if you need to come back and watch it again. Okay, so for your fruits, you can either, here are your choices. You only get one fruit per meal. You can choose an apple, or it could be an orange. It could be a handful of strawberries, or it could be half a grapefruit. So if you're doing a grapefruit, you need to cut it in half because that's considered one fruit per meal. So, you know, if you wanted to cut a grapefruit in half and have one for lunch, you know, half for lunch, half with dinner, that's acceptable. So that covers the fruits. Vegetables, you can choose from spinach, chard, chicory, beet greens, green salad. So, I mean, could be spinach, could be lettuce, anything like that. You can have tomatoes, celery, fennel, onions. But of course, you know, my first thing was, ooh, saute onions. You can't do that because you're going to add fat. So I don't know, I guess if you chop it up and put it in with something else, I don't know how to cook onions without adding fat and making it taste good, personally. If you do, more power to you. Onions are okay. Radishes, cucumbers, asparagus, and lastly, cabbage. So I've even done some sauerkraut because it's just a fermented form of cabbage. And I even get like the Whole Foods one. There's the true fermented cabbage. It is really good. It's really good. If you're a truck driver, there are lots of Subway restaurants and the truck stops now that you can choose from. Just go in, get a spinach salad. Now you can't do the dressing because it's going to have fats, sugars, etc., etc. Even the fat-free, if you'll notice, anything that says fat-free pretty much has more sugar in it. So you pretty well can't do any dressing. But you can have, I've had like canned spinach, made that pretty good. But there are options for you out there. Okay, now for your protein, here are your choices. You can do extremely lean beef, and it's not really recommended to do it because even extremely lean beef's gonna have fats, and I mean, it's just too easy to get in trouble with it. I wouldn't recommend it. It's a red meat. It's not as healthy for your system anyway, but on occasion, if you're really craving meat, don't go into the truck stops or someplace and get a burger and just eat the patty because they're going to be frying it. It's going to have lots of fat in it. It's not going to be lean. So pretty well the only way to do it is to do like an extremely lean meat from the store and cook it yourself. Maybe use the George Foreman, make sure all the fat's out of it. Chicken breasts you can have. And of course, all these have to be under the 100 grams raw or 80 grams or so cooked. You can have veal. You can have any type of white fish, things like cod, tilapia, catfish even, as long as it's not fried. And I just got like a fat-free, you know, like pan cooking spray stuff that doesn't have fats or sugars. I've been using that to bake or cook fish with, and that's worked just great. You can have lobster, you can have crab, or lastly, you can have shrimp, and those are your meat options. For occasional substitutions, if you're getting like really burnt out on this diet and you're like, I have got to have something different. Like, I'm just so tired of chicken, you know, whatever. On occasion, and once again, it's not recommended, but you're allowed on occasion to have one whole egg with the yolk, plus 3 egg whites. So 1 whole egg, including the yolk, 3 egg whites. That limits the fats. You can substitute a protein for that and do that on occasion. The other thing that you can do on occasion for a protein, 100 grams or less of fat-free cottage cheese. So that's another occasional substitution that you can use. And here in a second, I'm going to share with you how much weight you can expect to lose. But first, I want to cover sweeteners, because so many of us like things like Kool-Aid, or, you know, I like sweet tasting drinks, and even with coffee, you know, I like a little sweetness in there sometimes. Sugar and spice, sugar and spice, sugar and spice. And by the way, you can have all the seasonings you want, so long as the seasoning doesn't contain starches or contain sugars. And a lot of them, if you read the labels, you'd be shocked. It says like cornstarch, one of the primary ingredients. That's a no-go. As long as they're free of starches and sugars, you can have seasonings and doctor things up as you feel fit. Also, one quick side note is salt. When it comes to salt, this is just my thing, is the pink Himalayan salt has like 84 trace minerals in it. And I know Thomas DeLauer on YouTube talks about this a lot. And I've heard others who are into intermittent fasting talk about this, that having those trace minerals can really improve your whole entire situation when you're restricting your body of food. It can help you feel better. And even, you know, taking it a little bit occasionally can help you when you're downing water. Which, by the way, side note on water. We're going to get all this knocked out here in a minute, I promise. Water. You want to, if you look at those little water bottles, like from Walmart, like 16-ounce water bottles, you're going to want to drink at least 4 of those a day. It's, when they were saying the weight, the grams, everything else, it was sounding like an unbelievable amount of water, which if you're driving a truck, if you're traveling a lot, you don't want to be down in water and stopping all the time to use the bathroom, but it's really not that bad. 4, you know, water in the morning, maybe water with lunch, 1 in the afternoon, 1 with dinner. You're good. Or as I do, I get thirsty overnight, so I'll down 1. So anyway, sugars. I got a secret. Okay, I actually have 2 secrets. Everyone's familiar with like Splenda at the store, stevia in the raw. You see it in those big bags, like the Splenda bags. It's in powdered form. You just put it in things. It's supposed to be sugar-free, blah, 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 blah. It's not. And I will tell you how I found out it's not. Because I test with keto test strips straight from a lab. I order it on Amazon, but they're actual lab test strips. So I was drinking, mixed it up in some Kool-Aid, was drinking it overnight. Tasted so good. And I noticed the next morning I was out of ketosis again. And I was like, what is kicking me out of ketosis? So I read the label on the back, and its serving size, they can get away with saying 0 calories. You know why? Because their servings is like 1/8 of a teaspoon. Do you know how tiny that is? It's like not even my pinky nail. That is so tiny. If you're doing scoops, which it's gonna take to make like a Kool-Aid or put in your coffee or whatever, you're gonna get calories and carbs, and it's gonna kick you out. So that's a warning to be aware of. And I have a secret. I found this at Walmart. There's a couple of different brands, but you have to be extremely careful. This is the liquid stevia, and it goes a lot farther than you would think because it's a lot more powerful and condensed. This one's called Keto Splenda Stevia Liquid 0 Calorie Sweetener. If you read the back and read the ingredients, the giveaways, the ingredients, Splenda and the other that I was reading said sugar added. How can you say no sugar on the front and then add sugar? The Attorney General should go after them. Anyway, this literally has stevia leaf extract, citric acid, sodium benzoate, it's just a preservative, potassium sorbate, another preservative, that's it. It's literally stevia, water, and preservatives. This is completely 0 calories. So if you want something super sweet, you can squirt like 5 little squirts in something. it's going to sweeten it up and taste amazing. So I definitely recommend these. Just whatever you do when you go to the store, read the labels. Read the labels. Don't just say 0 calories, 0 sugars, I'm good. Read the ingredients. You can find some of those sweetener things, flavored sweeteners at the truck stops. You can have anything like this as long as it doesn't have sugars or carbs. Lastly, this is another little secret for nutrients. Here lately, I have noticed more progress, and I'll talk about this more in another video as to the science behind it. But I've noticed that I drop so much more weight if I skip a lot of the vegetables and I skip the fruits and just do the meats. I'll do like meat days. And I lose so much more weight that way. But after 2 or 3 days of doing that, you start getting weak, and it's like, okay, my body really needs nutrients, and that's so important to get nutrients. So I found these at Walmart. There's different variants of these. These are called Collagen Plus Greens. I love it because it has collagen for your skin. Plus, combined with intermittent fasting, your skin's actually going to improve if you do it right. 30 calories for a scoop. 5 carbs, but it's going to be no more carbs than you're going to find like asparagus or spinach, right? And dietary fiber is 2, which lowers your glycemic load. That's another video. And it's only got 1 of sugars. So 3 grams of protein, and it's got a whole list of vegetable extracts like wheatgrass and like super, super healthy stuff. So what I'll do is maybe every couple of days, personally, I'll have a soup. I'll get some bouillon cubes, not the healthiest, I know, too much sodium, but I'll make kind of a soup, or I'll make this into, like last night, I did a little shot, just put a little glass of water, tiny bit of water, half a scoop of this, mix it up, drank it like a shot, and I got my nutrients. So I feel so much better when I do that. So that's just another option for you guys to replace the vegetable with something like this. How much can you expect to lose? So it varies with everybody. I know, standard answer, right? But with me, I've been on average staying at a pound a day of weight loss. That's been my average, but there will be days that I'll drop 3 pounds or 4 pounds, and then I'll go a day or two with dropping only a half pound. So ultimately it's like 1 or 2 pounds a day. Typically men lose more weight. That's across the board. I mean, everybody knows that on diets, right? However, there are a lot of women that lose a pound or 2 a day on this diet. And then again, there are others that, will lose a half pound a day. And these are averages, by the way. There will be days that you won't gain any weight. If you're on your period, you're gonna probably show a few pounds of water weight gain. I love the whole body composition scale. You can find it on Amazon. I love it. It was like $29 or something. It was cheap, but it works. And it gives you, how much your waters went up. So if you see your waters went up drastically and your weight gained or plateaued, okay, it's probably water weight, but your fats are going down or whatever. So there are things that disrupt it, but ultimately that seems to be the average, is a pound a day. That's what Dr. Simeon's engineered for. And your doctor should go over this with you, but Dr. Simeon's talked about not exceeding 45 days on HCG, and the reason being is because your body could get used to taking it, requiring larger and larger doses, and it can become more ineffective. So he recommends don't do more than 45 days on this. If you do experience extreme hunger at any point, then you'll want to talk to your doctor, and they can talk to you about maybe adjusting your dosages, because some people need a higher dosage to start with for it to be effective. And then I will do a later video explaining phase 3, which is where you're going to level off your weight after and kind of wean off the HCG. Then you'll want to give at least 3-4 months rest break for your body to be used to being away from the HCG before you would want to consider doing it again, if you even needed to do it again. With me, I really don't know, because I keep dropping so much. I don't even know. I think I'd waste away if I did it again anytime too soon. So we'll see. That's enough for now, guys. Love you guys, and more very soon.
Showing off, don't wanna have to tonight. Bets are off.